We currently navigate our devices through a series of manual hurdles. We manage scattered information across too many tabs and respond to a constant stream of disconnected notifications that require us to provide every single input. Early AI integrations promised to remove this friction, but they largely resulted in isolated chatbots, tools that live inside a browser window and still require the user to do the heavy lifting of data entry and prompt engineering. At WWDC 2026, Apple presented a shift in how these devices are supposed to function, moving away from a model where the smartphone is a passive screen waiting for a command. This pivot relies on a rebuilt Siri that integrates with Google Gemini, giving the assistant access to broad world knowledge that exists outside of Apple's own ecosystem. The release of macOS Golden Gate and iOS 27 introduces an architecture designed to act on your behalf. The device is being re-engineered to handle multi-step digital chores that previously required you to jump between different apps and windows. For an operating system to take autonomous action, it must first eliminate the mechanical delays between different parts of the software. Apple achieved this by overhauling the semantic search index. Instead of apps holding data in silos, the system maintains a unified map of all local content, allowing it to understand the relationship between a photo in your library and a date in your calendar instantly. These deep optimizations are paired with a 30% boost in app launch speeds and a new CPU scheduler, which Apple is bringing to older models like the iPhone 11 to ensure the new logic runs smoothly on existing hardware. These speed increases and indexing improvements aren't just for UI polish. They are the technical requirements for an AI that needs to read and react to everything on your screen without a delay. You can see this logic in the updated Passwords app. If a credential is leaked, the OS can navigate the affected website in the background, logging in and updating the password for the user without any manual clicking. In Safari, the new Notify Me feature monitors specific web pages for changes, like a product coming back into stock, and alerts the user only when action is needed, removing the need for manual refreshing. When you dial a business, the phone app now uses call context to scan your other apps for relevant data. It can pull a flight confirmation from an email and display it the moment the airline's customer service line picks up. The most visible example of this multi-step coordination is the new Siri AI, particularly when tasked with something like planning a gathering. Siri can search your text history for a specific detail, like a friend's cookie recipe, search the web for a menu that matches that dish, and then draft a group message to all your guests with the final compiled list. This represents a change in the software's role. The operating system is now bridging the gap between what you want to happen and the technical steps required to make it a reality. Siri has also gained visual context. By looking through the camera, it can identify a restaurant bill and suggest splitting the total among your friends using Apple Cash. The visual highlight of the update is spatial reframing. By utilizing private cloud compute, the system can retroactively adjust the camera angle of a photo you've already taken, generating new data to fill in the edges of the adjusted scene. Granting a device this level of access to your personal data and the ability to alter your photos requires significant security protocols to prevent misuse. Apple is relying on private cloud compute to ensure that even complex off-device requests result in zero data retention. Your interactions are used only to fulfill the request and are never stored or accessible to Apple. This focus on safety extends to younger users. Based on clinical research from the American Academy of Pediatrics, the OS now includes strict time allowances to help manage digital habits for children and teens. The utility of an agentic system is tied directly to trust. A user has to be certain that as the software becomes more involved in their personal life, their data remains protected. In this environment, the application is no longer a siloed destination. You don't have to visit a specific app to perform a task. Instead, the system pulls the necessary tools from those apps to you. The user simply declares their intention, and the software handles the background logic. The complexities of navigating different interfaces and file types are managed by the system. This integration of hardware and software has been the long-term goal for the teams working at Apple Park. Tim Cook concluded the event by framing these updates as the result of decades of development, positioning this version of the OS as a major milestone for the company's hardware and software mission. As the system takes over the multi-step coordination across different platforms, the friction of manual navigation begins to disappear. The focus returns to the user's original goal, while the software handles the execution in the background.